Scary Sunday. How are we doing, everybody? We are rocking with moving the chains. We're rocking. We're rolling. It's your man Sammy, the man McIntyre, with the man Benny, the Jet Rodriguez. I love that movie. One of my favorites all time. I'm so glad I found these in the marketplace. So, lot to get to today. College football palooza. Week. What are we? 3 now. I can't keep up. I believe week 3. NFL's week 2. I always get those confused. But we had a big slate yesterday. We got Notre Dame, my Irish falling short, unfortunately, again, 0-2 on an absolute gut-wrenching way to lose. I'll get to that in a second. I want to touch on Georgia, Tennessee. Georgia just played their hearts out yesterday. Back and forth game. I know my Tennessee Volunteer fans. I know a couple of you, my cousins. Jennifer Bayer, who's a big Tennessee fan. Annabeth, Alex's Ariola's fiance, I know, is loving it this morning. But it's tough for Volunteer fans. You guys have not won a game since 2016. I don't want to rub it in anymore, rub dirt on that wound, but that was ugly yesterday in the sense that just you had that game and it just kind of came down to the wire. And then I wanted to touch on a couple other games. Clemson getting upset. What's going on with that program? Last night, Florida... LSU, I want to touch on DJ Lagway and how bad he was last night. I'll just get into some college football stuff. Got a lot of action-packed today. So let me start off with that game. So, Notre Dame lost last night, 41-40 at home against Texas A&M. That was as roller coaster of a game if I've seen Notre Dame play. And listen, I should have known Mike Elko had a couple tricks up his sleeve last night. He was in Notre Dame. He was on their staff, I believe, a couple years ago, and I think he's done a nice job at A&M. I think whatever Jimbo Fisher left that program, he left him with a shithole. He's digging them out of it. They went 10-3 last year, so there's still some room to grow with that program. I just think it's a dogfight in the SEC. You got Georgia, you got Bama, you got Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas now. Oklahoma's kind of viable with Brent Venables. So I think it's just going to be a uphill battle for A&M. But I will say this, that Marcel Reed kid can ball. He's a gamer. Again, still just drives me nuts with some of the passing. I mean, last night, double clutching, double pumping the ball, and kind of airmailing balls. But, he's a young kid. I think he's a second year playing. He'll get used to it. He'll get acclimated. I just remember last year, LSU was beating the shit out of A&M, and then all of a sudden Marcel Reed comes in, and he just takes over and goes Rambo, and it's on like Donkey Kong. So... He's a dynamic player. I remember a couple of Notre Dame fans, we had a wedding last night. They were kind of saying the same thing. He's a handful, and he is. So it was a handful last night. That Carver guy at receiver just is a beast. Notre Dame couldn't contain him. What I was concerned with last night was the tackling on both teams. I mean, I get that we don't practice enough anymore in football and all that stuff. But, man, the tackling emphasis on needs to be put more because it is bad. I'm watching every week, college, pro, whatever. Tackling is not going to implement it more. That's a soapbox topic for another day. But for A&M, I want to touch on them. Intrigued by them throughout the season. They're going to be a tough out because you get them on any given week, they could beat you. And they could beat you bad with that run game, Marcel Reed, and their defense with a bunch of front seven people that are probably NFL bodies. So good for Mike Elko. He got the win back in his hometown against his old coach, Marcus Freeman, and good for A&M. On the Notre Dame side of it, listen, that was as gut-wrenching a loss as I've seen from Marcus Freeman's team. I could go back to Northern Illinois, usually losing to them, but this was at home. And listen, they're 0-2, but I could kind of go, plays go either way. It's a black and white game in football. You either win or you lose. You got to make the plays. And I thought early on Notre Dame had a couple picks they had, and they couldn't put their hands on them. So, again, this is the year of growing pains for Notre Dame for me as a fan. And I'm not trying to, beat the dead horse here, okay? But I think, for me, it's a season of growing pains. C.J. Carr's first year, they're coming off the national championship game. They lost a lot of guys in the NFL. I know every team does. But Notre Dame's different because I haven't seen a lot of how am I going to put this? I haven't seen a lot of momentum like this from Notre Dame in a long time. So I do think they're going to be okay. They got to win a game, and I think they will. I don't know if playoff is their game, but they'll probably make a bowl game this year. It'll be viable. I think it's just going to be hard from here on out. You got to win out your schedule, Notre Dame, if you even have a sliver of hope to get in that playoff. So, and I think DJ Carr has played okay. Excuse me. I think he's played okay so far. But it's going to be a growing pain season for Notre Dame. So, just to recap, I'm intrigued by NM, what they can do on offense. The front seven got dudes everywhere, flying around, hitting. In the Notre Dame, it's just a growing pains. You know, the 2 games against very, very good teams, Miami and Texas A&M, it's just gone down the wire, but it hasn't gone the Irish's way. They'll figure it out, I hope. Keep winning from here on out, Notre Dame. So the other game I want to touch on, Georgia, Tennessee yesterday, in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville yesterday. That was as lit an atmosphere as I've ever seen. And I got to go to Neyland. It's on my list, the bucket list of stadiums in college I need to go to. I need to go to Georgia. I need to go to Alabama. I need to go to Tennessee, because those 2 places, it's so rabid, and it just feels like college football. It just. And I'll tell you this, yesterday, early on, I was impressed, and I said this 2 weeks ago with Josh Heupel's offense. That offense is so, and I mean so much fun to watch. You get the spacing, you get the speed, you got to cover every inch of grass. I mean, it is just guys flying everywhere. And I'll say this too, the way that their game plan was early on in that game, first 11 passes for Joey Aguilar, was fantastic by Josh Heupel and that staff to kind of change it up. We're going to go tempo, we're going to slow down, and we're going to go tempo again. It was very good, creative, getting them in and out, going fast, going Ferrari package where it's just speed. I was very impressed. And Joey Aguilar, listen, he's a gamer, man. Now listen, the turnovers he's got to clean up, no doubt about it. He had 24, I believe, they said on the broadcast yesterday from Kirk Herbstreit, 24 at App State. Got to clean those up. Kind of has a little bit of Nussmeier in him, and I'll get to him in a second. But to me, like with the turnovers, kind of gunslinger-esque. But I feel like with this guy at the trigger man running the Tennessee offense, they run much more smoothly than they did with Nico last year. Which Nico, he's a dumbass. And he's 0-3, by the way. Shocker, he went back to UCLA. Figures out Tennessee's better football program than the UCLA. But whatever. Oh, it's $8 million. I don't care. Should have stayed. But it is what it is. So, going back to Tennessee, I do think they're going to be okay. And at some point or another, you're going to beat Georgia. You're just going to. Now, I will give Tennessee credit on this. They put a much better effort and fight and dog in them than they have the last couple. Because last year and the year before, it was just ugly. I mean, they were getting stomped. And you look at Heupel's record, he's beaten everybody else in the SEC. He's beaten Alabama a couple times near Nick Saban's end of his run. So he's been very impressive. And I've been very impressed with how they are physicality-wise, in terms of O-line play, in terms of perimeter. They are very good offense. And their defense, they put guys in the league. So they're very, Tennessee's always been good in football. So, I'm not disputing that. And I do think this year they're still going to be viable. I don't doubt that in my mind. They only got one loss so far. You still got Bama. You still got to go play home. Like, you got teams you got to play. But at least you got Georgia out the way. Okay? Now you can focus on your task ahead, which I don't know who they play next, but they'll be okay. So, and then I wanted to touch on the Georgia side of it. That was impressive by Gunnar Stockton. I was kind of unaware of what he was going to become this year. You lost a lot. Was it going to be a Stetson Bennett kind of run? We don't know. But I will say this, that kid slings it, man. He slings that pill, and they got dudes everywhere. And I've been saying this for years. Georgia had talent for years, but they just didn't have that extra gear. And Kirby Smart is as great a coach as I've ever seen. He is Nick Saban 2.0. He has implemented that from Bama to Georgia, and he's gotten it. And I will say this, their defense still flies around. They got dudes everywhere. That state is littered with talent. Georgia's going to be good for a long time as long as Kirby's there. And they're probably going to be in that national championship contender. I don't think he's going to be like Saban, and there's only one Nick Saban, where they're rattling off natties. They're still going to be in that dance every year, and they're going to get there. Because of that man, Kirby Smart right there. Just a remarkable job, grit, toughness, takes the win, rivalry game. You knew it was going to be down to the wire. So just to recap that game, Tennessee, gut wrench, you're going to get there at some point. And Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, tip of the cap to you, because that was a very good performance yesterday. And in a shootout kind of game, which I didn't think he had the capabilities of, because I don't think he'd been in that spot before. So, very impressed by Georgia, Tennessee, and that. The other night game that I wanted to touch on, Florida LSU, as I was coming home from the wedding last night. It was a tale of two quarterbacks, the two that I've been kind of intrigued by, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway's got a lot of talent, a lot of horsepower I watch. However, he's a sophomore for a reason. He's got a long way to go. Okay, a long way to go. Long way to go. And last night was not one of those nights. He's had good teams, and I'll give him this with Lagway. He's had some moments. He had the shoulder surgery, so I kind of put him behind the 8 ball in terms of getting back to speed on the stuff. But listen, he was awful last night. There's no way around it. I mean, he was, again, I'm all for gunslinger mentality. Let it rip. I'm all for that. But man, last night, there were some throws that I think he wish he could have had back because he did not process well last night from what I saw. Didn't read the field. He just looked awful last night. Terrible. And if I got to hear one more moron tell me Billy Napier's the problem, you're screwed, man. Listen, this Florida program is cursed. I'm sorry. I have a hunch that they are. When Urban Meyer left Florida, mainly because Urban Meyer's own undoing, because of all the bullshit that this man, with all the 30 players and all that nonsense. I'm not going to get into that because he's got the force field of popularity. I can't pick on him. What? Yep, you can. But we'll talk about that another day. But my point is, ever since he left and won those natties, excuse me, they've been screwed. So, I don't know what you do with Billy Napier. I think Florida's still a good job. I just think it's intense. I don't get how you're in the state of Florida and you can't have kids stay. But again, if you've been so bad for so long, who do you blame? I don't blame you. You want to go. So, in Lagway, listen, if he came out right now, I would not draft him. He needs to stay in a couple more years, get his play right, because last night was pathetic. It was not good last night. He deserved an F. I mean, that after the first touchdown, I was like, okay, it's not like Donkey Kong, let's go. And then it just unraveled. And a lot of picks he threw were like staring the guys down and just kind of basic quarterbacking stuff that just needs quirked. So, and the differences I felt like in that game, and I was watching the highlights this morning, was, and I'll get to LSU in a second, but I felt like last night watching it was Nussmeier has none of the horsepower that Lagway has in terms of arm angles and moving and all that stuff. So he's got to go with the cognitive stuff. And I don't know if Lagway is capable of that. I'm sure he is, but maybe he's not in that stage of his development yet. But when I watch Nussmeier, he made one mistake last night, and that was pitiful. That was horrible. But Florida played so goddamn bad last night, mainly Lagway, that I just mentioned off the top, that he could get away with it, okay? So, again, with Florida, growing pains. This kid's young. He needs to develop. He needs to grow. Give him time. I think he'll be pretty good. And on the LSU side of it, that was one of the coolest atmospheres in college football. Death Valley, sticky, just muggy night in Baton Rouge. And I came away from that game. Their offense still is not functioning at a rapid pace with the talent they have. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're trying to get the kinks out. I don't know. But they got to get that right because their offensive line has blocked pretty well. They just can't run the ball. And then the run game, the pass game's kind of hit and miss. They're not scoring enough points. I don't know what's going on. And Brian Kelly can get all defensive all he wants, but it's your team, coach. You got to do something. So, proof's in the pudding, bro. You got to show me you got an offensive guy on the side of the ball. You got to get that right. So, that's just my 2 cents on that game. So, just to recap that game, Florida, growing pains, LSU, good, but still got some work to do in that aspect. Last game I wanted to touch on was Clemson against Georgia Tech. What an upset yesterday. Clemson, I don't think is that great this year, if I'm being frank. I like Cade Klubnik a lot, but he leaves me a lot to be desired. I would probably pick him second round as a quarterback. Listen, I like him, but I don't love him. I just feel like he leaves a little bit more to be desired, and I just don't know what his ceiling is. He's a good kid, smart, moves really well, good athlete, and a nice arm, but I don't know. I feel like he's just more of a college quarterback. So, and Dabo is what he is. He's won natties, and I get it, but his stick's kind of running low. And Georgia Tech, listen, they played spoiler. Man, ever since Brent Key got hired in 2022, they played spoiler. They beat Florida State and Dublin last year. They've beaten Clemson yesterday. They're a very physical football team. Haynes King is their quarterback. He's exceptional. He's a really good college quarterback. He can move. He can run. Does he have a place in the league? I don't know. I think he does. But he's a gamer, man. They play tough. They play hard. Their defense flies around. They're good at the line of scrimmage. And they're in a good state to have it. So I was very intrigued by that yesterday. And Clemson goes back to drawing board. I mean, last 2 weeks, what's going on? Even yesterday. You're down to Troy? Troy? What's OCU Manure playing there? So I don't know what's going on. And then some more college talk. Lenore Sellers, my guy, got hurt last night. That was a pitiful game from South Carolina. I don't know what happened in that game. Vanderbilt, I mean, listen, maybe they've turned the corner in Vanderbilt football. They beat Alabama. They upset them last year. They upset South Carolina last night. I like Diego Pavla. I like him as a college guy. I don't know if he goes pro, but I like him. The gamer, the kind of dog mentality he has, I'm for it. So hopefully Sellers gets back. They got to play better than last night. That was sloppy. You knew that they were kind of doomed when the backup was in. He had some plays last night, but just felt like out of sync, out of sorts last night. I don't know what was going on with South Carolina. And then the Wisconsin game, I watched that yesterday. Man, that's an all-time low for Wisconsin. I don't know what's gone on with that program. I really don't. It's not right. It doesn't look physical to me. I figured they would lose to Bama, but not like that. Not like that. And that was bad yesterday. And something's got to get right up in Madison because they got to get that right. They need to get back to playing Wisconsin. Big boy football that I've known accustomed to for the last couple of years. And I have not seen it. So something's got to give. And you better get puts their foot up somebody's ass and put a fire in them because they need to do something about it because it is a joke right now. So that was a big, meaty podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Scary Sunday, everybody. Have a great day. Enjoy the football. Got more content coming out throughout the week. Godspeed. Have a good one.